Okay, so this is nerve-wracking. I was here late last night, as Abel and Daniel can attest. They walked out. I was still living here past the witching hour. So I'm James Abel, student at Full Stack Academy, like all of you. And I wanted to go in a different direction with this. With our instructor, Omri's encouragement, I decided to jump into Alexa, which I've been thinking about for a while. So I wanted to experiment with sort of three things. I wanted an idea of what multi-user interactions through Alexa would look like. So if you think of what people tend to talk about Alexa for, Alexa cancel. They tend to talk about using it for things like booking airline flights and hotels and things. But I thought, or what I think is interesting is this idea of what if multiple people are using Alexa or Cortana or Google Home as a contact point to coordinate and schedule things between them, or play games or whatever it is. So Alexa cancel. That's what was going to be a problem. So that's multi-user interactions. I just have this general idea that voice-driven platforms are sort of where everything's going, where the GUI, the graphical user interface, becomes secondary to talking to the computer. As you talk, you build a profile. So if you think of like a Facebook profile, people tend to build them by pointing and clicking and uploading things. And that's great. But it just seems to me that what you're ultimately going to do is talk to an assistant, tell it what you want there, and that's going to generate the page with all the things you want on the page or in the profile, including some voice prompts. And then in the future, if you want to further edit or customize it, you might log into the platform and edit it with a mouse at that point. And then the third thing is I just have this sort of idea that the conversation you have with these devices, this is really where media itself is going. I guess you could call it conversational media, but it seems to me that the flow of conversation you have between you and the device, whether it's funny or pithy or interesting, and its various tones of voice and how you can interact with it and your tones of voice, that's sort of like the next generation of closing a magazine or putting a newspaper to bed at night. So these are three things I wanted to sort of play with. So I sort of built the start or the stub of a skill. It's called Washington Square Park. So if you imagine a sunny summer day in Washington Square Park, I mean, life is usually overflowing there. There's a lot of people talking. There's bands playing, usually bubbles bigger than babies being blown by some guy looking for tips. And it's really cool for everybody who has somebody to hang out with. But if you're walking through it and you're thinking to yourself, boy, wouldn't it be great if all my friends weren't married with kids right now? It can get a little bit old. So Washington Square, the idea behind it is to sort of perhaps tackle that kind of problem for people living in New York at this point. So we're going to give this a try. It works about 75% of the time. And I had to do a little tweaking this morning. So let's see. Alexa, ping Washington Square.
Bored, huh? I'll ask Washington Square if anyone's around. Do you want to meet a boy or girl today?
Girl.
Cool. Hungry?
Yes.
Okay. I'll ask Washington Square for someone who also wants to eat. Do me a favor. Check back in a few minutes.
Now, we can imagine that at this point, what Washington Square is going to do is it's going to take a look at other registered users using some sort of sorting algorithm that Abel has kindly created for me. It's going to send out a bunch of emails with some questions for them, or it may even ping them with a notification to their own voice assistant devices in order to try to find a match that works. And then a few minutes later, I'm going to come back and say one more time, Alexa, ping Washington Square.
All set. You're meeting Elizabeth in 15 minutes under the arch in Washington Square Park. She wants to know if it's okay to eat at Joe's Pizza. Please say Joe's Pizza to accept.
Joe's Pizza.
Choose pizza it is. Have fun.
And that's it.